When we start in a moment, we're going to be in your books on page 289, paragraph 2. Page 289, paragraph 2, and it's where it starts with the words V'yashev b'libo. But it's a minute till we're going to get started because we have a couple things to talk about as an introduction first. Remember that we're in the middle of discussing a very long answer to a very basic question from the Kuzari, from the king. He asked, what does it mean to be an Eved Hashem? What does it mean to be a servant of Hashem? What does it mean to be a chassid, a pious individual? And he was going on about many different areas of what it means to be very careful in mitzvot, not just to do the mitzvot, but also that it becomes a part of our lives in order to do it to the extreme. Not only means extreme as far as being kitzoni, being an extremist, talking to that everything revolves around serving Hashem. Yeah. Talked about the human body. We talked about the bracha of Asher Yatzar and the beauty of the human body and how the mechanics that we can only believe that a creator could have put into us this type of an idea, physically, emotionally. He's going to segue now into the animal kingdom. And what was he going to talk about the animals for? Talk about humans. We're human beings, so what do we care? The animals are the animals. We're the humans. We have to know how to be the Eved Hashem. Doesn't mean how the animals are Ovdei Hashem, but what we can learn and gain from looking at the animal world and how it will help entrench into us a different feeling for Hashem. But before we even do that, there's something else very important. We all come with, I mentioned this word a couple times already, the concept, we come with tools. We come with various tziyud in order how we will serve Hashem. So for some of us, it's for the males, for example, we have tefillin, right? We have physical mitzvot. For everybody, we have mezuzah. There are physical things we do. There are word things we do, meaning we make brachot, we daven, we do all kinds of things. We v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. We use our speech. So in every way we serve Hashem. We also have our thoughts, right? Because we can think, when we say, I believe in Hashem, I don't have to actually, I should, of course, express it with the Shema. But it also means that our thoughts, as long as I believe in Hashem, believe there's only one God, etc., that's also a way that I get closer to Hashem. But it's also what we tend to forget is that our brains, our thought processes, are there to also inform us. What does that mean? We talked last week or a couple weeks ago, a month ago, whenever it was, that we do things that we don't necessarily think about before we do them. Because when I say I'm going to stand up and leave the room, I don't stop and say, okay, stand up, push my feet to the ground, move my body, turn to the right, walk out the door. It's on autopilot because my brain is telling my body to do it without my even consciously being aware of it. Then there's a positive and negative to that as well, of course. But our brains are there also to make use of in order to inform us of certain information, to open our eyes. And many, many months ago, maybe even more than months ago, we talked about the idea of nature. That people very often say there's God, and there's Teva, there's Hashem, and there's nature. But it's not. Hashem is nature. Nature is Hashem. So when we look at the animal kingdom, which we're going to talk about in a moment, and then again a little bit about the human body, we're not talking about just nature. Take a look what he says. Again, page 289, paragraph 2. V'yashev b'libo tziduk hadin yishuv sheyelo lemagen ulemistor me'hapega'im ve'atzarot ha'ovot ba'olam. He says, if you really think about what I'm about to tell you, what I will do for you now is give you another tool. My words, not his. Give you another tool. And that tool is that it's going to protect you when you have this thought process I'm about to teach you, he says. It'll protect you from your mind going to places it shouldn't go. What kind of places? Well, why did God do this? And why did God do that? Well, take a look. He's going to give us a brilliant insight. When we ponder how God gives to all living creatures, sustains them, He runs the show with His chokhmah. Our ability to ponder the world, anything, whether it's a mountain, the human body, how a book is printed, how about mitzvot, we can come up with some generalities. But when it comes down to the actual nitty-gritty details of how God did X, Y, or Z, we can't do that. We're unable to do that. But meshem ro'ot mitikun abriya bahem, u'ma shekolel me'apliot hamoרות al kavanat hachacham v'chefetz yodea v'yachol. when we start to ponder and think about what we see in God's creation and everything that it includes, the structure of creation, the phenomenon that we will discuss that show the intention of Hashem as a wise, omnipresent being. Again, these are nice big words. What are we talking about? So hang in there, we'll come to explanation. Again, he's a very long run-on sentence. I'm going to stop in the middle of the sentence. He says, when we start to look at, I'm going to give you a little bit of a preview, what he's about to tell us. If you look at a table, there's certain things that you can conclude, which would be, someone had to make it. Someone had to make the raw materials. Someone had to buy the raw materials. Someone had to physically design how to do it. Someone had to actually bring it to where you see. So there's certain things you can come to a conclusion. Does it show that there's a tremendous genius in this particular table we're sitting at? There's no genius in this table. It's made from wood and some plywood and construction with some screws. It's a basic construction. There's no great chokhmah. What about when you read a book, a secular book, a kadosh book, a kodesh book? Okay, it sometimes can tell you about the brilliance of the individual, right? You take a look at something, whether it's a mystery novel, like how did he think or she think to come up with this idea, this twist, or it's kodesh, and you think like, oh my gosh, you just read a pasuk and look at all the perushim and everything there. So it starts to inform us a little bit about the person who wrote that book or who wrote that commentary on that pasuk. But when we start to look at nature, in quotes, i.e. look at Hashem's work, it tells us something amazing about the Creator. Hashem gave to every single being the necessary senses, both hidden and visible senses, their spiritual aspect, and also their internal organs. Again, what's he talking about? We'll see. And he gave every creature the necessary tools necessary for that particular species. My words, not his. Okay, what is he talking about? He's going to give examples. I am pretty sure none of us here, sitting here, no matter how smart we are, can from our bodies create a spider's web. We can't. We don't have the tools. Now, does that make this spider a genius and us fools? Of course not. But the fact is, the spider, no matter how much you speak spider, it will never be able to create or build a computer. We'll never be able to make a table. So wait a minute. So the spider has abilities that we don't have. By the way, so does the cheetah. And so does the giraffe. And so does the cow. They all have abilities that they have we don't have. Mm-hmm. So does that make them better than us? Of course not. But what does it do? It gives each one of them the abilities to survive and thrive in their world that they need to do. What does that mean? Take a look at examples. Interestingly enough, he chooses the hyena as an example. Why? Maybe there were wild hyenas in his part of the world. I don't know. On the one hand, he gave hyenas the ability to have strength, to be able to run, to be able to what do you call it? To be a teref, to be a dores. What do you call it? A bird of like a prey. They're able to prey on other animals. And on the other hand, and they gave the gazelle and the rabbit, or the rabbit and the gazelle, klei habricha. They gave the ability to run fast, umidat hamorech, and also they have the tchuna, the characteristic of being timid. What does that mean? What's he talking about? The hyena is just the paradigm for another animal that's a dores, that is a toref. It is a bird, it's an animal of prey, right? Mm-hmm. Now let's assume for a moment that the hyena eats rabbits. No. Okay, I don't know, but it sounds like they do based on this example. So if the hyena was slow and the rabbit was fast, the hyena would starve to death, right? But at the same time, if the hyena is fast and the rabbit is slow, there's no game. It's pretty easy. So God placed in nature two things. He gave the hyena the ability to be brave and run into a crowd of rabbits or wherever he has to go and eat and grab the rabbit. But he also gave the rabbit, and he gave the ayal, the gazelle, the ability to understand that something's not right here, that they have to run. By humans, we call it flight or fight. Fight or flight, actually. Do you want to encounter this person, this group of people that you're standing with? You want to go head to head with them? Or you realize there's danger? Why did we have that ability? Because if we didn't understand that there was danger, we would always be we're putting ourselves at risk. If I don't know that fire is hot, then when I go to touch a boiling hot pot, I'm going to burn myself, right? If I don't know that. If I don't know that someone walking down the street in Manhattan, or maybe he's a better one, maybe in Brooklyn, I don't know, at 2:30 in the morning, who's walking around with a chain, right, waving it back and forth, he's got 75 tattoos on his face, or her face, and it's coming right at me, and it's got fire in his or her eyes. If I don't realize that that's dangerous, then it's a problem. God gave me that ability to know that. Same thing in the animal world. You know, you would think that animals are dumb, right? They're going to see this animal coming at them, and they're going to run, it's going to chump and say, oh, I guess they're coming to give me a kiss, when in fact they're coming to kill them. For any of you who've ever watched any of the National Geographic things on TV or on YouTube, but trust me, don't ask me why, once in a while I end up watching how an animal actually kills another animal. Why? Don't ask. But how they capture the animal and how their brilliance and how they, whatever they do, whether they bite it or they choke it or they chase them down, how one animal helps with another animal to get the third animal, it's truly unbelievable. Hashem gave them not only their instincts of to chase or to know to run away, but gave them the tools to do it. Why is it that their teeth are shaped the way they are? So wait a minute, what about Darwinism? What about the concept of evolution? We're going to talk about that also a little bit. We'll touch on that. But forget the whole Darwinism, the whole evolution. The animal world adapts to what it needs. Chameleon, for example. Why is it that certain fish can see in the ocean what the human eye definitely cannot see? Why can dogs hear at a certain pitch that humans can't hear? They need these abilities to survive. They also need these abilities to hunt and to get their food. Why is it that a spider can make a web? Because a spider cannot catch a fly. They eat flies, but they can't catch a fly. They eat bugs. They can't catch a bug because they're not fast enough necessarily. So what do? God gave them the ability, by the way, not just the ability, the instinct to know how to build a web that comes out of whatever that comes out of their little feet, whatever they're called, to spin a web and catch their prey. Because if they couldn't do that, they would die. When it says Hashem, it says Hashem gives every living thing. Hashem sustains every living creature. Doesn't necessarily mean He's handing them their food, but He gives them the ability to be able to get their food, their ability to be able to capture what they need to capture. Right. So take a look what He says. When a person thinks about the animal world, thinks about just pick any animal, and think about the structure of the body. Think about the internal organs that they have and the way they work. You will also see the brilliance and the chokhmah that God had in giving these animals what they need. It will leave no doubt in a person's mind the righteousness of the Creator. If God had not given the ability to a lion to do X, whatever X might be, he would not be able to do what he needs to do. Why is the lion called the king of the forest? Why is it the Ari or the Arayot are considered the kings of the forest? They have the Aryeh Sha'ag, the Sho'eg means to roar. Shin Vav Aleph Gil. Sho'eg is to roar. So the Sha'agat Aryeh, which is also the name of a sefer, famous sefer that was written many years ago, it does two things. What does it do? It warns their other fellow lions that they're either in danger. It could also call them to action. It also, what happens when certain animals hear the roar of the lion, just like the human would, the ears literally perk up, right? And they know that they're in danger. If they didn't understand that connection, they would be dead meat literally a lot earlier than it wouldn't give them the chance for the flight aspect. So he says that alone should give you this idea of the greatness of Hashem. Says it's possible though, you could have a warped perspective and say, oh, look how bad God is. He made the rabbit the food for the hyena. Oi, that's terrible. And he made the fly the food for the spider. That's terrible. How could God do something like that? Animals eat animals. Oi, that's horrible. His common sense should take hold of him and rebuke him and say, איך היחס העוול אל חכם שנתברר לצדקו ושאיננו צריך אל העוול? How can I subscribe or ascribe to God and say, oh, it's terrible what he did, when on the one hand I just told myself Hashem is perfect, Hashem is a tzaddik, the way Hashem is his chokhmah set up the animal kingdom. That means that there's exactly what Hashem wants in running the world. Hashem wanted it that one animal would eat another animal. It has halachic implications, by the way, besides kosher, not kosher. We'll see if we get to it. He says, you be right. If it would just be happenstance, it would just be arbitrary that this one animal ate this other kind of animal or bug, then I would say, you're right. You're right. It's just arbitrary and it's terrible. We should try and keep these things, the animals, away from each other. I see the brilliance of the manhig, the one who runs the show, Hashem and his tzedek. He himself, Hashem himself, is the one who placed these tools for hunting in the makeup of the lion. Mikvura, the lion is very a gibor. He's like a powerful. V'yicholet v'shinayim v'tzipornayim. Look at the animal. Look at the teeth, the mouth of a lion. Very razor sharp teeth. The long fingernails. Why? Because they don't not only have to bite the other animal, they also literally have to tear it apart. How they're going to get into the body. Sorry to be a little gross and graphic, but that's the way it works. What happens if they would have stubby little fingers? I have my hands. They're not going to go anywhere with those hands. They're not going to be able to tear an animal apart. How are they going to eat? So, God gives the person, the animal kingdom, the bugs, everything they need, the vision. Why is it that a fly has the shape of eyes that they have? They're able to see, like, not 365 degrees, but they can see a very large, much larger area than the human eye can see. We're very, very narrow focus, almost literally. What we can see, we don't have eyes, except teachers. We don't have eyes behind the back of our heads, right? We can't see someone coming from the side unless you have very good peripheral vision. But the fly needs it, because the fly needs to be able to run or to catch, right? Imagine the frog is on the lily pad, right? The little tongue goes and snatches the fly out of the air. That's its abilities, right? And depending on the person where the fly is at that moment, won't even see it coming. He also gave the spider the abilities, the cunning to weave a web and trap a fly. And he gave him the tools to do this. And not only did he give the tools to the akavish, to the spider, to make a web and catch flies, he also made it that it was in their nature to want to catch flies, to eat them, and that the flies would understand, so to speak, in quotes, that the spider is their danger, that they are their food. We know that fish eat fish, right? There's the food chain. The little fish get eaten by the bigger fish get eaten by the even bigger fish. We can only suggest that it is the wisdom of a creator who imbued all the animal kingdom and the human beings with all these necessary tools, even though I can't comprehend. Now, what does that mean? If I were to create, in quotes, I were to make a product that needed to be sustained by something, say a car. Okay? A car has generally two ways of being able to be fueled: by gasoline or by electricity. And there's hydrogen and there's other things they're all working on, and water. And one day we're going to see the end of gasoline and end of the whole oil cartel and all that. God willing, Bezrat Hashem. Hamsa, Hamsa, Hamsa. But until then, generally speaking, the majority of the world's cars run on gasoline, a percentage run on electricity, some are a combination. So what do I need to provide for that car as an engineer? I need to provide a system that will take a liquid, i.e. the oil, the gasoline, and convert it into energy to enable my car to move. So I have to give it the tools to do that, right? I have to have the combustion engine or whatever the proper terminology is for a car, I don't know. But I also have to give the technology the ability to take oil before that, to give humans the ability to understand they have to drill for oil. How do they find the oil? How do they extract the oil? How do they separate the oil? How do they make it into a fuel that can run a car? So there's just forgetting everything else we talked about, a person's physical being and an animal kingdom. Just think about something very simple like a car. We understand that there's, let's use the term, there's the prey, and there's the one who's doing the preying, who's using the bird of prey. There's the fuel that gets used, and there's the car. So we have the two parts that make up the whole. Without them, the car's not going anywhere. It doesn't die, it just doesn't go anywhere. The fuel by itself is nothing, right? Gasoline just sitting there is what? It's just potential. If I have a barrel of gasoline, it's nothing. It's potential to be fire. It's potential to be make a car go. But otherwise, by itself, in and of itself, it doesn't do anything. On the other hand, when we talk about the animal kingdom, again, putting human beings aside, maybe you have the fly and you have the spider, or you have the big fish and little fish. In and of themselves, they are doing something. They are contributing to the environment. As much as we hate flies and mosquitoes and all, there's a need, obviously, for every one of those things to be here in this world. Otherwise, God wouldn't have put them in this world. There's nothing in the world that exists that Hashem doesn't want to have in this world. Doesn't mean Hashem wants people who murder Jews, but He wants those people in this world. Their choice to murder Jews, their choice to be good people. But it ends this particular part of the paragraph with the expression, a pasuk from Devarim, which we talked about last time. Hatzur tamin pa'olo. The rest of the pasuk is kichov rachad mishpat el emunah ve'en avel tzadik v'yasharhu. What is this pasuk? So this morning, someone called me up, sent me a message, and said, if I had to pick one pasuk in the entire Torah that tells us what we're supposed to do as Jews, as Ovdei Hashem, I quoted a different pasuk, which we actually had last time we talked, which is Ma Hashem Elokecha Shoel Me'imach. What is it God asks of us to do? To fear God, to love God, to do His mitzvot, to walk in His ways. That's the one hand. But if I can pick one pasuk in the entire Torah that summarizes what our belief system should be about Hashem's perfection, this is it. Hatzur Tamim Pa'olo. The tzur is a rock. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Hashem is perfect. All His works are perfect. Ein avel. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing that's gone askew. Tzaddik v'yasharhu. Hashem is straight. Hashem is tzaddik. Hashem is perfect. There is nothing in our tefillah and nothing in the Torah to which God is compared to in the physical world except this. Tzur. Tzur Yisrael. Kuma be'ezat Yisrael. Hatzur tamim pa'olo. Hatzur is a rock. Okay. Of all things, why would you compare God to a rock? The Torah itself, i.e. Hashem Himself, Kiviyachol, refers to Himself as a tzur, as a rock. We also say, what is a mountain? A mountain is really just made up of rock, dirt, and other things, but it's mostly rock, right? So if you drive down Kvish Achad, and you notice that you're going on a nice road, and you have mountains on either side, but to make that kvish, they had to cut through the mountain, or they make a tunnel, they had to cut through the mountain. And you're looking at a layer of rock. So a mountain is a rock. We also know that David HaMelech tells us in Tilim, Yerushalayim harim saviv la, v'Hashem saviv lamo mi'atav yad olam. Jerusalem is surrounded by mountains, and God will surround the Jewish people from now and forever. The mountain is a rock. Hashem is a tzur. Tzur shows something of stability. It shows something of protection. If you were going to build a fortress, you have enemies coming, and you have any materials you have right now, mitzbenevo. You can use any materials at your disposal to build a fortress. What would you use? Would you use wood? Would you use aluminum? Would you use plywood? Would you use plaster? Would you use stone? Use stone, right? I mean, it makes the most sense. I don't think have ever found any ancient crusader fortresses made out of wood. That wouldn't make any sense, right? Maybe they would bolster it with wood on the inside, but stone is the hardest, is the thing within the easily accessible nature that you can protect yourself with. Hashem is our protector. But that's not the point of this pasuk in here. It's not about Him being the protector. It's Hatzur Tamim Pa'olo. All of His works, Pei Ayin Lamed, Lif'ol, Po'el, Pe'il, action, is the word Po'al is a verb. That's what it means. Shem Po'al. So everything Hashem has done is perfect. So he's like, why don't I have the ability to run 70 miles an hour? Think about it. A human being could have been given the ability to run any distance at any speed that Hashem had predetermined. Yet we know that someone like Usain Bolt, who is now maybe the second fastest man ever, maybe he's the first, I don't remember what number he's in, can run the whatever 100-yard dash in X amount of seconds. Okay, but a normal human being can't do that. Why not? If we know that we're going to have, Hashem knows that we're going to be pursued at times, right? If someone's coming to stab me, God forbid, right? If I could run 85 miles an hour or 150 kilometers an hour, that'd be awesome. I can get away from the guy. He could also run, right? So why is it that rate? I don't know. That's what Hashem predetermined. Why is it that we have, if you take a look at a spectrum of light, we have only a certain area in the spectrum of light that we can actually, with the human eye, can see. Yet animals can see much farther, can see much different colors. Again, talk about hearing, talk about taste.
Look at eagles.
Eagles.
Oh my gosh,
yes.
you can see from
miles and miles away.
Miles away.
And I believe, I might be mistaken, but one of the animals that has the greatest sense of smell is a bear. The bear can actually smell its prey from miles away. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. So, and all those are there for the animal world and the human to be able to do whatever it is they need to do. I can sit here, look out the window, and I can see across the way that there's a police station, right? Yeah. Okay. But I cannot see, no matter how hard I try, I look towards Jordan or I look towards Yerushalayim, I can't see people in their houses. No. I'm not Superman, no matter what my kids might think. So, and I can hear, if I hear, and I have weird thoughts sometimes, okay? And I can be sitting here and it's quiet, I hear my own voice, I hear you talking, and maybe some birds chirping in a truck or something like that, knowing full well that there is some guy or some girl right now screaming for help. Right now. At this very moment. Statistically, there's a woman being attacked, there's a guy who's being attacked, there's people being robbed, there's people dying, there's people who are in pain. Right now, I can't hear it. I don't have that kind of hearing. I don't have super hearing. But if I did, I'd be able to hear something many, many miles away. Right? And maybe that would help. Wait, why didn't God give me that ability to be able to hear someone 20 miles away? God forbid. God forbid we should have that ability. Think about all the extra stuff you'd be hearing, and as it is, how we have difficulty sometimes focusing. Let's go back to the animal kingdom. What if a bear could not smell its prey more than 100 meters? But it needs to, because the animals it hunts are much farther away. And another thing that Hashem did was, we know that there's certain animals, we're going to see this inside, there's certain animals that, like a bear, we'll go back to that, has a heavy fur. Right? Why? Because they live generally in much colder climates. And they need for the winter to protect themselves. So Hashem imbued those animals and gave them that ability to be, imagine they have these little scrawny bodies. They're going to be shivering and freezing. Their first winter, they're all dead. And the fact that how is it that a bear hibernates through the winter and it's able to lower its heart rate and get away with not having to eat and drink for however many months it is? Again, a human being, they'll be dead. Right? So it gives us this idea, this thought, when we start to look at all these things, like only a creator, only Hashem could have done all this. I sent on your phones a couple of references from Aviner Sefer, and I want you to take a look if you want, otherwise I'm just going to read it anyways. One is, I call it source number 1. I sent it out, I think, yesterday. It starts with the word Zehu Inyan. If you don't have your phone, that's fine. I really, one of these days, I've got to get some kind of a projector here. Get a barcode. You should put it up here, put a little screen behind here. There's enough classes that go on in here. I think it'll be very helpful. Okay, I'm going to read. Zeu ha'inyan hatzur tamim paulo v'tziduk hadin. Now, for those of you who have been to funerals, especially Ashkenazi funerals, you'll know that at some point during the burial, they do what's called tziduk hadin. Tziduk hadin starts with this pasuk, hatzur tamim paulo, where the mourners, and generally whoever's present, they usually pass out sheets, also recites this paragraph where we accept God's judgment. We say Baruch Dayan Emet. We say Hashem Natan, Hashem Lakach, Shem Hashem Baruch Yatav Olam, that God gives and God takes. May His name be blessed forever and ever. Blessed. So that's called Tziduk Hadin. But what it means is accepting God's perfection. And whatever God does, we're going to talk about this in a minute, God does for the best. Continue reading. We have a chazaka. We understand, we know that every single detail of a mitzvah and everything that exists in the world is from God. Omnam. Sometimes it appears to us a little wrong. We see animals devouring each other. We have to remember שזהו חוק של ריבונו של עולם, ולא determinism עיוור. It's not blind determinism. It's not just it happens that one animal eats another animal. This is how Hashem creates the world and put the animals in this world. Derech mashal. I'm going to give you an example. And I like this example because it's one that you can really easily understand. Imagine you open your mail one day and you get a bill for 5,000 shekel. Okay? It says, please, my name is, I sent you a note from Zev Shandalov. Please bring the schum of 5,000 shekel to my house by 5 p.m. tomorrow. What would be your first reaction? Shock. What else?
No way.
No way. Why? Why? You're right, but why?
What for?
Exactly. What for? If I get a bill for 5,000 shekel, I don't know why, what it's for. I'm going to mumble against it. I'm going to murmur against it. I'm going to be. Of course, I'm not going to pay it. But But when I'm told, wait a minute, this you remember when you went to blah blah blah, this is the bill for X. As soon as I understand that there's, oh yeah, that's right, of course I have to pay that money, I owe them whatever, then I get calmed down. What does that mean? Imagine, this is a really great example. I open my mail. I take my key out of the box. I take out an envelope. It has the return address of David Smith. Okay, Chaim Yankel. I open it up. And it says, you have to bring 5,000 shekel to Chaim Yankel's house by 5 p.m. tomorrow. What is he? And he has his phone number, his Teudat Zehut number, his picture. Was he mental? Well, I don't know this guy 5,000 shekel. Hey, he'll jump in the lake and take it and tear the letter up. A couple days later,